This is Dante Taviance checking in. I'm feeling very happy. I'm excited. I'm feeling very loving right now. I want to just share a content strategy that I use that I started doing every day. That I made a valid commitment to myself. That I love, like everybody knows how curious I am and how much I love consuming information and studying and developing skills and everything. And I just recently just came around on creating content, on pushing this through social media, through the internet, and etc. So I discovered, well, really, first off, I first found this strategy out. Really, it's not something that I've naturally just created. It's something that I found inspiration from, and this is going to serve my purpose of what my idea, my purpose, my point of what I'm actually talking about. The Dan Coe, that's somebody that I really look into and I study, and I have like took some of his advice and some of his strategies on creating valuable content and how to and developing and building your one person brand in your business, one person business model through the digital landscape. And he talked about something as far as such as whatever you're consuming, whatever content you're consuming from whatever medium or media you're consuming this information from, if something strikes you, if you find inspiration from it, take that and don't only just listen to it if it's off of a YouTube video or through a book or an article or whatever, or even a social media post. You take that content and then you write it down, and then you take note of it. Whether no matter what it is. So if you're reading the book, stop reading the book as soon as you find something that like strikes you. Stop reading the book. Take note of that sentence of where that book is talking about. You're watching a YouTube video. Stop the YouTube video. Take note of what that person, whatever that person is saying on that YouTube video. Take note of that. And then I even want to like go a little further from that, off of that. Also, in addition to that, so I should say, is that just stop what you're doing. Also, take note of it. But if you are able to, as soon as possible, you want to apply it. You want to apply that information. So you want to start figuring out in your mindset strategically of how I can apply this. So now you're not just reading the book, you're not just consuming this information, now you're practicing it. Now you're actually taking action. Because what's the point of having all this knowledge and having all this information and inside of you and you're not really doing anything with it? It's just ridiculous. So from there and from that inspiration, I would like to create it into content, and that's where like the true authenticity will come into play, and also because also I feel like what's very very important for me, and what's very important to me is that empirical data is something that I want the world to view me I don't want to like just create stuff and just put out information and just put it out there, and it doesn't really have any type of facts behind it. It's not credible, it's not factual, it's not truth, because I am a truth seeker. And so once I create this content, I also want to shift to a strategic promotion and marketing strategy. I also want to because what's good of me having this valuable content if no one sees it, and so by ensuring that my content reaches those who will find value in it, then I'm able to connect with like-minded individuals who appreciate it and what I have to offer. And so that's pretty much what it's nothing like too serious or anything like that, but it is something that resonated with me and that I thought about today. And it's like I'm going to start doing this. I am going to start not just listening to a podcast or listening to an audio book or any of that stuff. If something I'm like, man, I never thought about that, or something like strikes me, or something like I find like that encourages me or inspires me, let's start practicing applying this to our lives. And it is up to you to figure out how you're going to apply it. Just like how I'm holding myself responsible, how I'm going to apply this. Do some soul searching, dig deep inside of you, and figure out, what it is that you want to say or what it is you want to share to the world. That's why I always say, start with self. Always start with self, before you start listening to other people, I would highly recommend for you to start listening to your own experiences. And that is something that I've heard Thomas Sowell say one time. He was just like, before we listen to anybody else, we should listen to our own experiences. And those are facts. Those are like, that is so true. And that is something that I thought about, and I'm expanding on. And that is something that I am doing. I am practicing that. That's the prime example right there. It's like I've listened to somebody of a high valued person that I find very credible, and I took that small little sentence, that small little phrase that he said, and this was like almost like an hour and a half interview. But off that hour and a half interview, that's something that's really stuck with me. And I've listened to this interview, was like, the first time I heard this interview was like 2 years ago, and that little thing, I took note of that. Listen to your own experiences before you listen to everybody else. And so now I'm applying that, I'm practicing that, and so before, like as I said, like before I start listening to anybody else, I go back and I think about the things I've been through. I think about like my personal stories and my personal ideas, and the things that, and it doesn't matter if it's negative, if it's positive, if it was a sad story, if it was a bad story, whatever. You experienced it. And if it's something that you want to share, then you share that. You share that. You write it down. You share it through a medium, through like, or whatever. Like if you write and do a newsletter or a YouTube video, like I'm doing, or whatever. Because that's what you did. That's what you experienced, and you're a master in that. You're an expert in how you overcame that. I'm not going to use the word solution, that you found a solution to get over that, but you found a strategic trade-off to overcome that problem, overcome that solution, and now you can mold it into something. Whether like now you're molding it now through writing and through newsletters, and you have this huge following base of other people. You have built a market of people that has found inspiration into it, and now they're following you, and now they're listening to you. They're listening, they're reading your newsletters, they're reading your if you have a book, your books, or whatever medium you decide to go through. Now you have a following base, and then now you can, if you decide to, you can create it into a product, or you can create a service, or or you can make educational content, continue doing that. But regardless of whatever it is, now you have like these people who wouldn't even mind buying this product or service from you, because they're not buying the product. The product is just the vessel. The service is just the vessel. They're buying you. They're buying the story. But also, where I want to, I guess you can say, that I'm going to take another approach to that is that for me, yes, I am going to listen to my experiences and my own story, and I am going to share that, and share the strategical ideas that how I overcame that. But I also want to stress too that not all of this is just a cookie cutter. Not all of this is just one way of approaching this or doing this. Regardless if I'm having a product or a service or not, and I have all these different newsletters and articles and books and YouTube videos, because I know everybody's experiences are different. And so that's why I always talk about starting with self. So that's what my brand is. That's what my mantra, my personal mantra is start with self. Because everything that you need is within you. It really is. And I don't want to use the word, because I don't want people taking what I say in absolute, but like, I won't say everything that you need, but like I will make the bold statement about 90% of things that you need is within you. Whatever you're going through, you have it. You just have to find the curiosity, and you have to keep attacking it every day and figuring out yourself, and how can I make my problems better. And one of the ways I also want to say is that I believe will make people's lives, problems better is, this sounds very shallow, but I believe we need to focus on also, especially if you're not wealthy, you need to focus on being rich. You need to focus on seeing how much money you possibly can make. I don't believe in the the cliche when people's like, oh, money doesn't solve your problems. I just said that I don't believe in solutions, but it is a better trade-off. I would rather you have these problems and be rich than you have these problems and be broke. You make the decision. I'm all about options, and I'm all about weighing out my options. And that's something I'm going to stress more on that idea of what I'm talking about, but not in this YouTube video, because I don't want to jump from different ideas and jump from different topics, because I have so much stuff that I want to talk about, that I want to share. But the whole purpose of this idea right now is that when you find inspiration from something, focus on your brand. Focus on your story, your personal story. Because I want to make this very simple. Before I close, focus on your personal story. Mold that. Write about it. Attack it every day, and then you publish it and you share it, and then you find out how to promote and market this, and where you find the content. And sometimes you may be like, oh man, I don't have any content, I don't have any, I don't know what to create, or yada yada yada. And then when you're listening to stuff, feed your mind with practice feeding your mind with valuable content. So when you're listening to these podcasts, you're listening to these audiobooks, or you're reading an article, or any of this, reading a book, YouTube video, like I said, stop, pause it, practice pausing it, write it down, and then expand on that one little idea. Expand on it, because whatever that idea was that stuck with you, it stuck with you for a reason. It spoke to you for a reason, because now it's getting personal. And so that is just small little specks of data that you are collecting. You're gathering empirical data. Now you have to test it. And empirical data is like you testing and you're making sure this is facts, this is truthful. You know what I'm saying? But you're gathering it, and then you're putting it into your own little toolbox, and then so now you can use that, and then you share it with the world. And of course, I will keep expanding on these ideas, these topics, and I keep talking about these things, because I'm all about growing, I'm all about getting better. But I believe that's something that that can share, that can really help people with what they're doing, when they're creating content, creating valuable content. Because you want to create valuable, credible content out there, regardless if it's a business or whatever. I want it to be credible. So, hey, start with self, obsess with self, know thyself, invest in yourself, be honest with yourself, love yourself before all, and then expand. This is Dante Taviance. Until we meet again.